Good morning, my superfluous seeds of sunshine. And you know what? Car dealers are finally getting desperate. I think I'm starting to see the trend that they've actually given up. They've given up hope on trying to hold out, trying to get all the big dollars and the big profits. And today, welcome. Like I said, it's an early start. I know the East Coast folks over there in New York and Toronto's and the Floridas and some of those folks are watching from those parts. You guys are up and moving around, probably had your coffee, breakfast. You've probably already done a few things this morning. For those on the West Coast, we're talking Vancouver, California, some of those states in the West Coast that might be an hour or so behind. Probably some of you are just maybe not even up yet. So that's okay. This will be recorded. You'll get a chance to kind of see it. But I think I'm going to make a short live stream here. If anybody wants to jump in, feel free. Go ahead. And I'm just going to type in the chat box here. Good morning. So anybody, again, you have any questions you'd like to ask about some deals? But what I'm starting to see is finally brands like Ford, we know they've struggled. The Ford Lightning has not been selling. Neither has the Mustang Mach-E. And while you see them once in a while out on the road, there's really not too many around there. So what we're starting to see is Ford starting to scale back some of the pricing. They've, as a matter of fact, it's gotten so bad that they've actually had to come up and say, look, we're not going to further enhance their electric vehicle space. And instead, what we're going to do is we're just going to lay some people off and defer production until at least 2027, lay a whole pile of people off. They're talking in a couple of thousands of people are going away. But it all comes as a result of the fact that those vehicles are not selling. If you're growing, you're winning. Everybody scores. But if you're not growing, the company's dying. And so Ford's having to do something a little bit more unique. Obviously, the Lightnings, there was huge incentives, and now through quality control problems, you're probably having a much more difficult time in getting a new Lightning. The Mustang Mach-E, same story. There's a bunch out there in the lots, but it's kind of a hard vehicle to get your hands on, and so what I'm finding is Ford's now incentivizing those electric vehicles pretty heavily, but they're not incentivizing vehicles like the Maverick, because the Maverick is one of those vehicles. It's a hybrid and it's small and it's relatively cheap, and it fills that gap where a half-ton truck used to exist. So people seem to be okay in buying those kind of trucks. So they're not really incentivizing popular vehicles like the Mavericks because they can't even keep them in stock, but they are incentivizing their electric vehicle stable. They're incentivizing a lot of different vehicles, obviously, that aren't moving along that well. I think the Bronco Sport isn't one that's selling all that well either. So that one might represent an opportunity, although it's not really, it's a watered down version of the real McCoy. What we are seeing, though, in fact, and I want to walk through some deals that I've been kind of scouring, and there are some great deals out there. And I just want to kind of share a few of them because it kind of tells you a bit of a sign. There's a bit of a signifier here. Subaru is one of those brands. The Solterra, you can actually right now get 0% APR on that. And, Subarus in general, it's a love-hate. I mean, you either love it, you love the all-wheel drive, you like the boxiness, or you're just not having it. Suffice it to say, Subaru's got a couple of options. The Impreza as well offers $2,549 down and about $249 a month for about 3 years. Now we're seeing Mazda. Now Mazda is one of those sellers that I think it's flying under the radar, and I believe Mazda is one of those brands up and coming, is becoming more durable, reliable than even Honda's. So Mazda is still, those that know, right? So what we're finding is a little incentives on the CX-30, 0% APR. So as you can see where the interest rates, it's almost like some of these manufacturers can't wait for the governments to get their act together. The bank rates, the reserves, the U.S. banks, the Canadian banks aren't really making any big moves. We heard this week, that actually their employment. So the unemployment rate in the U.S. dropped. So there's a whole pile of new jobs this last month in March. So things are looking up there. So if that's happening, probably interest rates aren't going to drop anytime soon. On Canada's side, though, however, unemployment went up to 6.1%, which is a pretty high number. And when you see higher unemployment rates, those are one of the key triggers as well for the Bank of Canada to make adjustments. So there may be opportunities, but regardless, we're not seeing great deals yet. Interest rates are still fairly high from the banks. So now we're getting these OEMs to step up and offer their own in-house and absorb some of those costs. I mean, we know there's all kinds of fluff in there, so it's not really absorbing it, but they're making it more palatable for the buyer like you and I know. Um, I just want to kind of share a couple other great ones here. Hondas. I mean, for those that love Hondas, they've had some durability issues with their CVTs, their transmissions, and they've had some problems with that 1.5, but Honda's still a pretty solid brand all in all. The Civic you can get a 2024 for 3.9% APR, still quite a bit better than if you're trying to buy through the bank. Definitely worth a look. And as well, the Honda Accord is also 3.9%. So it tells you Honda is starting to make a bit of a move. Traditionally, I see Honda and Toyota sort of that benchmark, right? When they make a move, that's sort of like leading the industry in a sense. That's kind of where the health check. They're a pretty good indicator of what the market can bear and tolerate. I mean, where we get brands like Stellantis they're hemorrhaging and they're not even able to sell vehicles like the Jeeps. They've had to slash. I mean, I've seen discounts $15,000 or more on Wranglers. Um, Even some of their base Cherokees, they basically eliminated that because of poor sales. And now some of the smaller ones like the Compass, those are giveaway, and honestly, they're not even competitive. I mean, we can get better vehicles like the RAV4 or even a CRV for less money. It just doesn't make sense. So I would say if you're looking for those small subcompact like that, see that's where the Compass they're not competitive. Um, but what we're seeing is the Pacifica is one of the worst selling vehicles in the Chrysler stable. So if you're looking for something that represents sort of that crossover minivan SUV, kind of that, it's an acquired taste. Quite frankly, I think it's one of those vehicles that its mother fed it with a slingshot because it's not particularly good looking. But I guess, hey, what can we say? None of us are, I guess. But regardless, that might be an opportunity if somebody just wanted a good utility vehicle, and there are certainly going to be a lot of incentives there to look at. JK5, thoughts on used Audis? Audis, again, the Euro stuff tends to be a little bit, a little bit more of a risk on the used side. Audis, Volkswagens, pardon me, aren't necessarily the most dependable. There are some deals. There definitely are some deals on some Audis, but not what you consider the best deals, not the smoking deals. I mean, right now, the only one that kind of fits from the VAG group in that space of one of the best buys right now would be the Jetta at 1.9% APR. So you can get a decent deal with the Jetta. But honestly, if you're looking at Audi, I mean, we can take a look here. I'll check my notes here, but Audi is, not really. They're not given a ton. Here, I'll give you some examples if you want to know about some Audis, even new Audis, for example. What we're seeing is sort of 2025, a Q7. If you want a large SUV for 5 years, 6.89% APR. That's an example. So clearly, on the new side, they're not really incentivizing. Now, I have heard that their e-trons are really pushing hard. So you're probably getting better deals there because they're not selling. So they're really leaning on the market. They're really trying to incentivize selling those, with better, discounts, APR, the rates and everything is going to look better on something like an e-tron GT. But even like a 2024 Audi A3, 3.99% APR for 60 months. For 2024 model years, for A4s, you're looking at 4.99% for 5 years and $539 a month for 3 years. That's kind of the gist. We're in that 5 to 6 to 7% finance rates for Audis, and so that kind of tells you a bit of the storyline, what's going on there. That a lot of the VAG group products aren't necessarily making the grade for maximum incentives. They're sort of dragging their heels a little bit. So, but used Audis, if you're going to look at a used one, I would say your best option would probably be if you're okay and going with something like a 5-cylinder. I think those are the best engines. RS3, TTRS. I've always said those are their best engines. Some of the V6s in more recent years are better, or the turbos and the turbo V6s. Some of the older engines, supercharged engines, we had some problems, timing chains and things. So depends how old you want to go. I would say that those 10-year Audis are going to be a real problem for reliability. So I would generally stay away from older Audis. Oil consumption's a big deal with a lot of those cars. Spider Dan, 1985, sitting at Jeep dealer waiting on an oil change in Florida, and the prices on their cars are still absurd. Wranglers, even Compass and Renegade, still 33 grand for a Renegade. That's thanks for sharing there, Spider Dan. I've seen, I know what you're saying, and I've seen some of that too. And it's almost like they're not quick to necessarily throw those advertisements out there. You definitely have to shop, and you have to, if you've got the money, I believe you're in a position to negotiate. And I think that's the key. They're not just throwing all these big numbers out there. Some of these dealers are, but yeah, you're right. Some of them are a little dragging their heels, and that's the problem with Stellantis. And they've been overpricing some of their stuff for a significant amount of time. There's no way within this solar system that I think a Jeep Wrangler is worth more than $30,000. I mean, I love Wranglers. I think they're cool. Not the most reliable, but they're a utility vehicle and they're very niche. So I get it. But 30 grand feels like the top pop with the biggest, baddest engine that you can get in a Wrangler, in my opinion. And a vehicle like a Compass doesn't deserve to be in anywhere the space that they're asking. The Renegade, Tiger Shark engine, problems there. Get the manual gearbox, but still way overpriced. 33 grand. Yeah, that's pretty much ludicrous in my mind. And you're talking US funds, so we're talking like 50 grand Canadian for that. Clearly not even near, I wouldn't even pay that in Canadian dollars. Not nearly worth that, in my opinion. So watch out for the deals. They're coming, but they're coming slowly. And we have Peter M. Any thoughts on what you get for around 15 grand all-wheel drive SUV? It depends, Peter. Are you talking new, used? Because new, you really don't find anything. All-wheel drive SUV, honestly, I would get the latest and greatest that I could get with my money. I would probably start looking at the latest, newest generation Mazda CX-5 50s. Like anything Mazda, I think they build reliable little SUVs now. They're all-wheel drive. They're fun. They're peppy. You can get the GT with the turbo or non. And depending on the size, the scale of vehicle you're looking for, I'd say the Mazdas would be probably one of the first places I would look if I was looking for a smaller, lower cost SUV. 100%, that'd be the place to go. Toyota's still carrying a little bit of a premium price tag just because, the name, the brand. Hondas, I think it's spotty, durability. They're great vehicles, but, some reliability issues there. Christopher Thompson says, good credit and big down payment is the best negotiating tool. I'm waiting on a used Supra currently. You nailed it, Christopher, 100%. I say that a lot of times in a lot of my videos throughout the week as I'm talking through the videos, that the more you can put down, and like 20% minimum, I wouldn't go less than that. But ultimately, cash is king. And, credit sometimes can work. Good credit scores definitely gets you a better deal. But the more money you put down and the smaller time frame that you can get that dealt with, the less interest charges you're going to pay and the better interest rates you're going to get if you have a good credit. So yeah, good credit score is important. Try to keep your credit above, in that, 750, 800. I mean, ultimately you want a higher credit score is going to get you a better rate. But yeah, ultimately the more money down, it's going to get you a better deal. Canadian Gamer. Hey, good morning, Canadian Gamer. Definitely a Fisker. Yeah. Yeah, and a Chevy or Prologue. Yeah. There you go. So, what do we have? Richard Jaden then. Sorry, I hope I'm not messing up your name. I do apologize in advance if I do. Nobody going to spend what the dealers are asking for pickups and SUVs. We don't need all this fancy stuff. Go back to push button and dials and basic stuff. Yeah, you betcha, Richard. I don't know. Did you see my video yesterday? I posted in the morning. If you haven't, you definitely want to check it out. If you're one of the viewers and you want to get on board and you want to understand the market, the buying, and then I always tie it in with cost of living because that's so important to everybody these days. But you're right. I mean, sales are down. dealers are getting desperate and they're making concessions now, or they're starting to, because people aren't buying that. I shared in that video yesterday morning, my old truck, I have an '03 Ram. It makes a little rattly noise from time to time on a cold start, whatever. It tows the boat. It's clean. It runs good. I'm going to keep running it. Like, it doesn't owe me anything. I don't owe it anything. The banks were free and clear there. So that's what people are starting to do. I'm not saying go out and buy a big piece of junk. I'm saying if you've got an older vehicle, the consideration of continually maintaining it, put a new set of brakes and tires on it. I mean, what is that going to cost you relative to the price of a new vehicle? So a switch doesn't work for one of the power windows. Troubleshoot it, fix it at home. If not, live with it, whatever. Small price to pay, right? But yeah, 100%. I think a lot more people are electing to either buy older used vehicles or even possibly just fix what you got, and keep it going as long as you possibly can. And yeah, when there will be a day, I'm not saying don't buy, because again, as I mentioned in that video, I'll probably buy something too at some point. And that's cool. You got to buy. I mean, that's what makes the world go round. It's always fun to have something fresh and new. Just know that it comes at a cost, and don't be snookered getting caught up in a bad deal. So, Canadian gamer, paying interest is against my religion. I don't blame you. Again, as I say, cash is king. If you can pay, good old fashioned cash will get it done. And that's really the best way to do it, because that way, you don't owe the bank anything. You're not held to anything. I mean, it's just an easier way to do business, and no fault. You're not paying extra money. It's bad enough when you buy a vehicle and you got the depreciation. So if you got the depreciation and you got the interest charges, you're sort of losing at a double velocity. You're better off just like, you're going to take the hit anyway on depreciation. So why double up, right? Richard Jatnan, yes, I seen your video yesterday and I agree with you 100%. Yeah, exactly. Thanks, Richard. And that was really the point, right? Was my perspective. That's a real middle class Joe boy like me that's just got an everyday vehicle that just needs to get around, drive the kids around. Son plays hockey, do these things, right? Get groceries, the odd trip to tow the boat to the lake. It's a utility vehicle, and I'm going to use it and I'm going to keep it going as long as I can. Yeah, Richard, I got a 2004 Ram, same as yours, works good. Yeah, exactly. So again, it may not be perfect. Mine's not perfect. I got a few things. I showed you yesterday, I had a check engine light. I already know what it's about. Tires probably need replacing soon. There's going to be a few dollars I got to spend there. That's okay. As opposed to the alternative. So, let's just see here. Gord, D. Armand, a guy I was talking to last weekend will be getting his RAV4 Prime I can't see. I got a little logo there. Will be ordered in 2024 this June, I think. I can't see. I got the decal in the way there, but getting his RAV4 Pro. Yeah. So I think what you're saying is he ordered it in 2022 and just getting it this year. Those are awesome vehicles. I was actually looking at the RAV4 Prime. The Prius Prime is one of the hardest to get. But any of those primes, we get the plug-in hybrid PHEV, if you will, PHEVs. I was also looking at the Lexus NX 450 Plus. Awesome vehicle. Plug it in, get about 50, 60 kilometers, 30 miles range without even using an ounce of gas. And then you could do these short trips to work. If you live nearby, drive to work, no gas, drive home, plug it in at home again. Like, absolutely great vehicles, those primes, and it gives you actually a little performance too out of that game. So that's great. Let's just see. Rugged H, great show as always. Dave, Regina, sunny, no snow, +6. Good morning there, Dave. Yeah, great to hear from you. Sunny and no snow. I can't say that. I think last time we did this live stream, it was the same situation. You guys had, I think we talked about this last time. You had decent weather over there, and we had terrible. And again, we got terrible weather. We had snow the last 2 days. Actually, yesterday hit pretty hard. A lot of it melted, but it's still gray and cool and dingy out there. Sun's not shining, so we got to bear through it. I think we've got some good weather coming up this week. So, Canadian Gamer says the world is ready for PHEV, not EV. Toyota was right, 100%. I've seen the light, like I said already, with the primes, the RAV4 primes, some of the other vehicles like the Teslas, not Tesla, swear word, like the Lexus 450 plus. You're right. The PHEVs, even Ferrari's getting on that. I mean, look, they're rocking the SF90, they're rocking the 296 GTB, GTS. Those are amazing, spectacular performance cars that are like that, internal combustion, electric, but they're plug-in, and it actually adds to performance, a little bit of economy in there, but I think Ferrari kind of has their own perspective on it. So yeah, I think that is the practical solution. The only downside is additional technology buried under the hood. I think there will be extra costs and maintenance when these vehicles get older. I mean, now you have ICE and you have some electrification. So you got battery and motor and all those other parts and pieces. It's just another layer of complexity. But if you're buying from a brand like Toyota or Lexus, you're pretty much sure that you're going to have something that's fairly well sorted. So yes, I agree. The plug-in hybrid vehicles are absolutely great. So let's take another quick couple looks here at vehicles. Just want to drop a couple bombs here. Subarus, I already mentioned. The Jetta, you can get a 1.9% APR, as I mentioned already. Not many deals. Audi, and the VAG Porsche group, all those, that group. Not big incentives, little bit just to kind of try to stay competitive. But if we're being honest, that's not competition. You're almost 2% APR when there's a lot of, competition. And honestly, arguably, in some cases, more reliable competition, or even better performing in some cases for less money. But there you go. Subaru, I already mentioned. Impreza, 2023 Hyundai Sonata Hybrid. You can get it stickers around 29,565. Current offers 3.49% APR financing. Plus, they're giving you a cool $1,000 back. And so that ends, looks like April 30th. Honda Accord already talked about. Mazda CX-30. I saw a CX-30 yesterday, and I couldn't believe how nice, how cool of a little vehicle that. If you want a really small, little, sporty-looking SUV or subcompact SUV, I think it's probably the best-looking one on the market. I love it. It was in that glorious red. Anybody know what the name of that red is on that Mazda? That really deep, like a royal red. Anybody maybe drop in the comments. I can't remember what the actual formal name is they use. Oh, it was delicious. And it was a CX-30. And here they have those for $34,000 MSRP, 0% APR. So great interest rates, finance rates on that, also ending at the end of April. So watch out for those deals. And Kia EV6, 43 grand, 975, 0% APR. Civic, again, we talked about. Nissan Altima. Yeah, we know Altima and Nissan's been really incentivizing. This is how desperate things are getting. Nissan's actually incentivizing not just you as the buyer, like here, a new Altima for $36,800, 0% APR, but they're actually, I don't know if you heard, I featured this in another video here last couple of weeks ago. They're actually offering up money direct to the dealer to sell their outstanding 23s and to keep pushing the 23s harder. So they're not just incentivizing you, but they're also saying, hey, an extra $1,000 to the dealer that pitches a 23. So incentivizes the sale of that 23, both to the buyer and the seller. So they're really, really pushing. Nissan's really desperate. They're really leaning into the customer, leaning into their dealer networks, and Nissan in general is really putting the squeeze on. I also heard they're coming out in the next few years, 3 or 4 years. They're literally going to quadruple the range of types of vehicles that they have available. So they're really trying to scale up, and they're really trying to hit the market hard coming up. So that's a great option. Hyundai Ioniq 5, we know about those batteries. We've heard the stories, 50, 60 grand for a set of batteries. But hey, 43 grand for MSRP and 0% financing. Deal ends at the end of April. So it's some good deals there too to be had. So yeah, I mean, if you're looking for some deals, the deals are happening. I've seen some really good deals too. I was browsing, and if you saw yesterday's video, I featured blobs of it. But Ram, I was down at the Ram dealer, and I was actually even shopping online. I went to a couple dealers here locally, and I went on their sites. And I even went down to their dealerships themselves, walked them down. These vehicles do exist. And there's some great deals. Like there's some deals now where it's almost like, we're getting close. Yeah, like some of the deals are, they're knocking $8,000, $10,000, $12,000 off. Now, I'm not saying that's a great deal. I am saying that we know, like, we can't fight inflation 2 to 3% every year, year over year. 2019 to now, we're going to expect, if you would almost expect 15% on top of what prices were in 2019. I think that's just the unfortunate reality of inflation and artificial money printing and all of that. I think we would anticipate that if you had a vehicle that was selling for, I don't know, $100,000 in which there aren't many like that, but $100,000 in 2019, that vehicle I would expect to be at least $115,000, and that's without all the greasy markups of the dealers. And that's just strictly standard inflation, low grade inflation, chronic inflation that we've been seeing. But yeah, I mean, I would hope to see, instead of that $100,000 vehicle 19, I don't want to see it at 130,000. I don't want to see that. And I think the dealers are starting to figure that out. And we're starting to see incentives now of those vehicles at 130 now, maybe notched down to, 118, 120. And so we're getting close. We're not there yet. The deals are still coming. We're seeing more incentives. As I gave you some examples, 0% APR on a whole pile of different vehicles. So it's just an example of some of the options out there. Chrysler, Ram, Stellantis, Jeep, Dodge. That's your best bang for buck. The most opportunity to get some deals right now. Jeeps are just overpriced. I think there's no deals there to be had. Not yet. I think they've got too far to go. Rams, we're starting to see some deals. I've got a lot of inventory out there. GM, lots of inventory on the lots. Ford, I'm seeing less inventory. But did you know that Ford sales on the ICE are down? They're really pushing. And that was formerly the most popular pickup truck, light duty pickup truck in North America. And it's down, it's sliding, it's losing sales compared to. So when you look at the total between General Motors, so GMC and Chevy, each separately sold less vehicles than the F-150. But realistically, they're the same vehicle. So if you put GMC and you put Chevy together, because it's the same truck, that total collection has sold more vehicles than the F-150. So now, arguably, GM is probably selling more trucks than Ford on the ICE space. And Ram, they're not selling, not very much. Yeah, you see new Ram trucks buzzing around. But again, up until these recent last month or so, we haven't really seen that many great deals. Incentives aren't that strong. And so people are just getting tired of getting gouged. And so Rams aren't selling, and they've traditionally been the poor seller of the big three. And that's what I expect. But the flip side is there could be some deals coming up. So watch out for that. Let's see what we have here. All-knowing eye. 2024 Chevy Trail Boss 4x4, 14% off MSRP. 14% off MSRP. Yes. Now we're talking. $1,300 over market for my trade. That's also good if you feel like you're getting a solid trade for your vehicle. No dealer ads and 1.9% GM financing. Not bad, right? It's not the zero. It's not free lending, but it's low. So 1.9 is good. That's actually what I bought my used Jag for just before we hit the pandemic in 2020. I bought my used Jag for 1.9%, but then that went bye-bye. That's the deal I just made last week. You know what? All-knowing eye, that actually sounds like a fairly decent deal all the way around. 14% off. It kind of gives you a little insight, though, how much they've been marking these prices up for the last couple of years. If they're able to trim off 14%, they're still making money. Like they're not in the game to lose money. But it sounds like you've made a decent buy. You've got a significant amount off, 14%. What are we talking? 50? Yeah, I don't know. I'm getting his ballpark $7,000-$8,000 off. Plus, you're getting over what you would expect on your trade, and you're getting decent finance. I mean, it sounds like a decent deal. And if you need a truck or you need a vehicle like that, or a little SUV, so people that are in that space looking for that type of vehicle, sounds like you might have come across, the beginning of some of these deals that we're starting to see out there. $8,000 on. See, there you go. See, I was just ballpark calculating in my head. No, great deal. And again, I think that's a good example of some of the things people are starting to see. Starting to see. It's what I call the small end of the wedge. And so we're starting to get some of the deals popping up. So yeah, I think as a whole, we're seeing more and more of the vendors offering up good deals. Not seeing a lot of good deals on the German stuff. Mercedes, not phenomenal deals yet. Not seeing great deals, as already showed you about Audi. Porsche will never give good deals, never, ever, that I've ever seen. Maybe in the Taycan because it's electric. Wait till the Macan electric EV or whatever comes out. There may be deals there once they figure out, we put all our R&D into this and now nobody's buying this junk. I think there's a risk there to the manufacturer because the EV market feels very volatile right now. But with that said, I mean, other than that, Porsche is not giving great deals. And a lot of the imports, the European stuff is not giving great deals. Korean stuff, Kia, Hyundai, good deals. Personally, I'd stay, if you're going like that, I'd probably go more, the Mazda, Toyota, Hondas. Subaru's got some incentives. So those are the angles I would probably be looking if I was looking for smaller cars. Full-size pickup trucks. Toyota hasn't been one to really offer up huge deals, but the Tundra, I think, is still, I know there's been some problems with the wastegate troubles and a few issues along the way here. But I still think the Tundra is better than the big three in terms of durability. And I think you're going to get more lifespan out of a Tundra with their new twin turbo V6 than you will a Ford F-150 or a Sierra or a Ram. So that's just my take on it. If you need a small truck, maybe look at the Tacoma, something like that. Private Salty Cracker. Good morning again, Private Salty Cracker. Again, great to hear from you. I know it's a little early in the morning here for most of us, and I do apologize. I'm heading out for a real busy day of filming and hustling and research. I've got some meetings today, and so I just wanted to hit this early, give everybody a chance before you guys get going, because everybody here is very, very busy too, and everybody's off to the races and enjoying life. So you stay still loving our 2024 Camry Hybrid Nightshade. Wife gearheads. Yeah, you know what? That's a beautiful rig. 24 Camry hybrid. So hybrid, that's just going to work well, right? I mean, that makes it economical. I love the looks of the Camry. You know what? The older ones, I was driving there the other day and I was looking, there was an older one, like a 2010 or something driving along. And I looked at this thing and I thought, it kind of just looked like this, just like a square box cruising down the road. And I was thinking to myself, if you were ask a 4-year-old to draw a car, they would draw at that 2010 Toyota Camry because it looks very generic. It looks like your generic car. But man, have Toyota come a long way. And like I said, we bought a new Camry ourselves, a 22, similar generation, similar model. And like they've come so far. Even the generation before this restyle, it looked a lot like it'd take leaps and bounds for design elements. And then this design and the one like yours, Private Salty Cracker, awesome. Love the looks of those. Very aggressive, especially the back end styling of it looks spectacular. Front end looks good. The interior's got lots of space. It feels very large. It's like a Lexus ES basically, right? And it's a great looking car. And yeah, the new 25 looks spectacular. Absolutely. I do agree with that. Apparently all EV or all electrified in some capacity. So they are moving in that direction, but it looks great. I agree. The new Camrys are great looking vehicles and honestly great bang for buck. So I would say they're always a good buy, always definitely worth a look if you're looking for a new car. That's just a practical solution. So, I guess that's just all I'm kind of getting at here in all of this conversation is, is that there's deals. There's deals coming up. We're starting to see some really hungry dealers, and they're starting to panic. There's all kinds of these dollars, like deals all over the place. I mean, it doesn't take long. I can pull this up and honestly just go through my phone, and I can find all kinds of deals here. It doesn't take very long, and a couple trips down to the dealership, and you'll start to see some of these deals. But we'll get more into that. All-knowing eye, Salty Army in the house, and the Private Salty Cracker. A little bit of banter, friendly banter is always fun. So, Yeah, anybody know what that red color? I know I asked that. I don't know if I see that in here. I'd asked that red color that Mazda uses on their new cars and SUVs, that really deep red. It's that really deep, kind of smooth, creamy, metallic, like a really deep red. Anybody know what that color is? I'd be kind of curious. So I'm not actually sure what that is, and I don't pulling it up necessarily. But anyway, great looking vehicles. Honestly, that's if it were my money and I want to look for a small car, like a small sporty, like something that's economical and reliable, my money's on the Mazda 3s. I'd probably, even for the small SUVs, I'd probably start looking at probably again a RAV4 if the budget allows. If you're looking at SUVs that aren't necessarily a Mazda, maybe or Toyota, maybe go with the Mazda. You got the CX-30, CX-3, CX-5, or not CX-3, CX-30, CX-5, CX-50. I'd be looking at Mazda, Toyota, maybe Hondas. If you're looking for full size, go with the Toyota trucks. If you're looking for luxury SUVs, I think BMW is getting better. They've got some of their new B48, B58 engines, a lot more durable, and I think you can have a lot of fun with those for at least 5 or 6 or 7 years now. They're going to last a lot longer than some of them that used to. So I would say maybe if you're looking at a smaller to mid-size SUV, don't go big. X7, it's going to be costly, maintenance costs, big and bulky. Even the X5s get a little kind of bridge that line. I mean, with the M40 or the X540i could be a great buy. That's a B58. It's a great engine. It's just the air ride stuff gets expensive and all the extra tech. The X3 is the sweet spot in my mind. The X2, the X3. X2 is on the X1 platform. I like it. It's front wheel drive though, but it's a fun looking little car, the X2. But the X3 is the sweet spot, the X3 and the X4. So if you're looking at, those might be a decent solution in the luxury car segment. Porsche Macan, ICEs are great options if you're looking at stepping up the dollars a little bit, get up into that 6 figures, Canadian dollars, probably in that 60, 70K US, gets you into Porsche Macan, BMW, M40, X3 M40 or the X3M are great options. But Lexus is going to own the ultimate reliability. The RX, the NX, those would be my choices. Probably plug-in hybrid where I could get it. That would be the best choice in my mind. WW34, Toyota Venza or RAV4. Yeah, I would say those are great choices. And the Venza is an awesome ride. Looks great. Basically looks like a Lexus. PM, if EVs are not the future, then why is Toyota investing $1.5 billion in battery factory in the US? There's a lot of strategies in a lot of that, and I wish I had all the background on it. The way I see this, if Toyota's investing in batteries in a space like this, in this type of capacity, it's probably to serve a market that's expanding. And whether they're using them or not, I mean, even Toyota uses batteries, but they're doing it on a smaller scale. Hybrids are all battery powered too, right? So it could be supply some of that. But could you imagine if you developed, and I heard Tesla was not, like Tesla, for example, isn't a car company. It's a data company. It's technology company. And so they are also looking at possibly exploring the idea of transitioning away from car sales and now developing and enhancing the battery to sell now to the market at more of a wholesale level and possibly capitalizing massively without being involved in all the retail aspect of the business. And so Toyota could be looking at that, trying to supply a market demand. So if there is a need over here, they could be looking and Toyota saying, hey, we can help that with that supply. And so if you create that, it's like they say, you build it and they will come. So there could be some strategy around not just for their own vehicles, but possibly even for supplying the market that is quite obviously inevitable and developing. So Derek Johnson, is the Porsche Macan more reliable than in the past? I would say, from what I understand, they've changed the drivetrains a little bit. The engines are different. And that dual clutch gearbox, from what I know, they were always a fairly reliable sporting SUV. The problems were price, cost. There was people that had some drivability issues. hunting and surging, a little drivability. But the big issues that I heard of were in the dual clutch gearbox, because in the Cayenne you get a torque converter transmission, but in the Macan you get a dual clutch and the PDK, if you will. And there have been problems there. And when it breaks big, and it's really expensive. So I haven't heard a lot yet lately. But generally, I would say I would put more faith in a vehicle like a Macan than I would in most other, like the Mercedes or even the BMW. In terms of reliability and being able to drive it hard and put away wet, I would say the Porsche is probably going to hold up better. Blue Eyes, good morning, Blue Eyes. How you doing today? And then Derek Johnson, thanks for answering my question. You betcha. Okay, well, you know what? We're going to wrap up. We're at the 40-minute mark. And I do appreciate everybody for stopping in, taking a little bit of time out of your day just to listen up to me yap on. But I did want to share some of those deals, because it's quite clear to me that some of these manufacturers are struggling with sales, and the incentives are coming fast and furious. And I just think there's going to be a lot of opportunities coming. So keep your eyes and ears peeled. I'd love for you on my videos during the week. Please drop, if you're finding any deals, or drop me a line or a DM or something of deals that you got that were spectacular. If they were like way out there, I'd love to hear about those as examples. Definitely, that'd be great appreciated. So thanks again, Private Salty Cracker, awesome live stream. And I really appreciate you stopping in and taking the time. And WW34, thank you very much as well. So thanks everyone for coming, for joining, for asking the questions, engaging, and to each and every one of you, have a great day, a great Saturday, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.